This is Proverbs chapter 3 and 31. Envy thou not the oppressor and choose none of his ways. First and foremost, I want to give call hello Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, Malaki Yahweh for giving me the spirit and power to do this lesson. All right, so what we're going to touch on today is we're going to deal with this sports and how it come from Greek gods, man. And you go back into the origin of sports. When you type in where does sports come from, it's going to take you back to Greeks, starting with Zeus and the rest of his children, right? Like Aphrodite's, Hero, Apollo, which is Apollo was the king. He was the god of boxing, right? And they all had they abilities according to what we know today as sports, right? That's why when when we play like video games or if we look at the stat sheets, it always shows how fast they are, how strong they are, and so forth. But this is something that our people always wanted to grasp. They always wanted to be like the heathen instead of who the Lord chose us to be. Because when you go into chosen people, the Lord didn't choose us just because he liked us. He chose us to be a special people, as in to bring forth the most important thing on this earth, and that's the word. Now, one thing's for sure is we are kings and priests, and you will never see kings and priests out there playing sports, man. Right? But that's what they gave us, and that's what they distract us with. That's why our people, they want to be rappers, they want to be basketball, football players, and they want to be the god at it, right? And it goes back to these Greek deities, man. Believe it or not, but we know for sure that the Greeks, they're most famous for democracy. They had theaters, right? So acting can go back to the Greeks also, because that is not what we do. We are the ones who set the earth in order. We are the priest of the Most High God, right? So they are the ones who did all that plays and operas, and you know, hey, they did that kind of stuff. That ain't what our origin is, man. And I know a lot of people ain't gonna want to hear that, but we're gonna get a little bit on this. All right, so let me share my screen. First, we're gonna go to Isaiah. Yeah, Isaiah chapter 61. All right, so let's start off with Isaiah chapter 61, and then we can get into the lesson. So Isaiah 61, and this is how it's supposed to have been from the beginning. But that evil had to been sown in the world. These nations had to been set up so that the Most High, it was the Most High being fair with everyone. He let all these nations rule, but the nation of Israel is going to rule last, and they're going to rule forever and ever. Like it tells you in Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel 7. It says, Isaiah 61 and 5, and this is the gospel. It says, and strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of aliens shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers, right? This is them doing everything for us, servants, slaves, right? Psalms 2 and 8. This is how it's supposed to be from the beginning, right? It says, but one thing for sure, we are their plowmen, we are their vine dressers, and we're also their entertainers. That's why you have we're the best at acting, playing sports, right? We're the best at singing and rapping. We're the best at these things, right? So we are their entertainers, but that ain't who we was created to be, man. It says, "But ye shall be named the priest of the Lord." Right? We are the priest of the Most High. And what does the priest do? We'll get back to that in a second. What does the priest do? What's his job? Right? So this is Malachi 2 and 7. It says, "For the priest's lips should keep knowledge, right? And they should seek the law at his mouth, for he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts." So that's what we are, a nation of kings and priests. And this is the priest's job. You should hear the law as at his mouth. Now we're all made priests under the law of under the order of Melchizedek, Salakia. So we all supposed to be, all 12 tribes should be teaching his word as of now. Right? We have fun in the kingdom. And I'm pretty sure we're not gonna have sports in the kingdom because, like I said, it goes back to Greek gods, man. And we're going to get into it a little bit. But it says, but ye shall be named the priest of the Lord. We the ones supposed to bring forth the law, right? And we're building ourselves up to that point now. That's why you have many teachers out. And Lord willing, these are the same teachers that you're going to see in the kingdom teaching the heathen, right? Because we're not going to be teaching each other, right? It says, men shall call you the ministers. Minister goes into servant, serve of our God. Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves. All right, so we're going to be using them for things. We're going to be taking away all their riches and glory, but sports is something that's not going to be taken from them. We're not going to need sports, right? That's something that's here on this side, right? And our people, they take hold of. But look, let me get this. In fact, I'm gonna just get it in Maccabees right quick, because this is something that our people, they wanted to be a part of, and it pissed the Most High off. And this is why these things be happening to us as a people. This is why the Lord allowed these nations to trample us underfoot, because we want to be like the heathen. And he tells you that in Ezekiel chapter 20. He says that thing that be in your mind shall not be at all, man. Right? You want to go be like the heathen, but I'm not going to allow it, because he chose us to be a special people. Now, he woke up an elect few, of the nation of Israel, and the rest he's going to destroy because they want to act like this right here. Right? So this is First Maccabees, the Greek Empire, right? First Maccabees chapter 1, and we're going to start at 11. It says, in those days when they're out of Israel, wicked men, right? Israelites, wicked men. These men are called wicked for what they're about to do, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, right? Specifically the Greeks, right? For since we departed from them, we had much sorrow. Why? Because they don't have this sense of entertainment, right? They don't have wrestling, boxing, foot racing, javelin throwing, archery, right? Lacrosse. They don't have these things, so it's boring. We have had much sorrow, right? What else could it be talking about, right? The Greeks are known for sports. They're known for having fun, a good time, right? It says, so this device pleased them well, right? Then certain of the people were so forward herein, they were so witted, that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen, right? So they said, to hell with what the Most High set them up to be and what they're supposed to do. They said, we're gonna go do after the heathen, right? We're gonna get a license to do after the heathen, when the scripture says you do not have a license to sin in Sirach 21, right? But they went and got a different license, right? It says, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, right? And a place of exercise going to, I believe it goes into wrestling matches. They had wrestling matches, and this goes into education systems, because the Israelites was needed to be taught how to follow, Greek fashions, right? So they had set up education centers also. It says, and made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant, right? Look at our people now. We can line that up right now, right? Like NBA players, actors, singers, whatever, rappers, whatever. If you tell them to repent and come back to the law, statutes, commandments, they're going to look at it like, I have to let all this go. I have to let what I love dearly go, right? They rather forsake the holy covenant, right? And join themselves to the heathen, right? Because who's paying them? Who got them in a position where they are right now? It says, and were sold to do mischief, right? And that's just how our people is, man. They would rather be like the heathen than to be who the Most High set them up to be, right? They want to be the salt of the earth. They want to be the best. They know they're the best, but they don't want to, the rest that comes with it, right? They don't want that. So look, let's see what it says in the law. Let's see what it says in the law. So this is Leviticus, idolatry forbidden, right? And that's idolizing, trying to be the god of, any of these sports, because we're dealing with sports right now, right? Right? Because there's a lot of people that talk about following heathen customs, like having dreads and, They make mention of that, but they don't make mention of sports. And these be the same people that be dealing with sports. So if you're gonna do it all the way. All right. So this is Leviticus 19:4. Turn ye not unto idols, nor make to yourselves molten gods. I am the Lord your God. Right. So he is the Lord our God. He is Yahweh, our power, right? Or Elohim. Right. And he gave us specific instructions on what to do while being on this earth, man. All right, my computer froze up 1 second. All right, because I want to get this word. I want to see what it say. All right, so it says turn not unto idols, right? Right. It says of not good for nothing. Sports is good for what? What is sports good for? It's just entertainment. But you know what they do? They turn it into an idol. They say things like ball is life. That's idolatry. That's your life. When it's the scriptures say that the commandments is the way of life. That's what bring forth life, right? But they got a problem with that. It says worthless of physicians, a shepherd, a divination of false gods. And what are these false gods? It's not called Greek mythology for no reason. Mythology planet, Greek mythology, right? In ancient Greek mythology, Zeus was the ruler of all gods, right? He was the god of the sky, and he had children, right? Hermes, Aphrodite, right? He see these are his children, but it's called the fact of the matter is these are his famous children: Apollos, Artemis, Aphrodite, Dionysus, Hermes, right? It's called Greek mythology though, and we're gonna get to this image right here because this is what Israelites set up in Jerusalem. This thing they set this up, right? So of false gods, and false god goes into something that's fake. Greek mythology. A myth is something that isn't real. It's false, right? And the Lord told us not to do that, man. So let's read it one more time. So he says, Leviticus 19:4. Salakia. Leviticus 19:4. It says, turn ye not unto idols, nor make to yourselves molten gods. I am the Lord your God. Right? And that made me think of this video. Look, check this out. I'll show you a true definition of idolatry when it comes to sports. I'll show you a perfect example of an Israelite in idolatry. Yes, this man named his son Dallas Cowboy. Where are you at? I should have already had this video pulled up. This is a good. Man, did they take it down? Let me see. One second. There it go. This is madness, man. This is idolatry. This is a perfect example of idolatry if it plays. Like I said, this is a man. Let me make sure my screen is shared. Like I said, this is a man who named his son Dallas Cowboy. Look at all this. Look at all the everything. The theme is Dallas Cowboys, America's dream team.
Game time, we all watch the game. All people stop talking. We watch the game. That's our 3-hour piece. When the game's over, before the game, sit in the rise, take pictures, let's talk. That's what we do. When it's game time, it's game time. And that's everybody, you know what I'm saying? And we're showing everybody, and we take pride in being these diehard fans that people see on Facebook, see on the internet. What you see is what you get with us, basically. We're just a cool family that rep the Cowboys. I don't like being labeled ever as a number one family person. Like I said, a good friend of mine named is Carolyn Price. Everybody knows her out there. Go Cowboys!
Right,
She's the number one fan.
This man has literally the earrings, the hat, the sofa seats, everything is Dallas Cowboy. This is a perfect idolatry video.
Like I said, a good friend of mine named is Carolyn Price. Everybody knows her out there. Go Cowboys! She's the number one fan. That's hers, you know what I'm saying? Me, I'm just a diehard fan along with my family. What you see from me, you see all my family members. They're just diehard fans. And we've been able to build something and started something, like I said, we never knew it was going to get to where we're at.
Come on, man. The cars is Dallas Cowboy. Everybody's shirt, the house, the theme. Imagine inside the house, everything is Dallas Cowboy, man.
It's Cowboy thing, you know what I'm saying? It took a lot of go. Everything that we're doing right now, man, I take pride in that, you know, how we rep the Cowboys.
He'll probably kill you if you diss the Dallas Cowboys.
Cowboys, how we live this life, how we live that Cowboys life, you know. Never understood that we're going to do this or change people's lives, change people's ways of thinking, of how to love Cowboys, how to rep the Cowboys, you know. And I take pride in doing it. I take pride in me, when I meet you in general. You know, they say that that's a diehard fan. He don't do it for attention. He don't do it. I never.
Look at that. He even got tattoos of Edomites on him with a Dallas emblem. He probably don't even know what this means. But this is a perfect example of idolatry, man. And he even takes it farther than this.
Never had no whip. Oh, no, man. Just love about my team, brothers. Family out there. Just love that me and my family. Not only me. Family is a reflection of what I believe in and what y'all see in me. That's my Cowboys life family. Then I got my 9-year-old. His name is Dallas Cowboys. You know, and like he said, family is a reflection of what I believe in and what y'all see in me. That's my Cowboys.
So he said his family is a reflection of what he believes in. Your belief goes into your faith, what he has faith in. And he shows you because he named his son. Let's watch it.
Cowboys life family. Then I got my 9-year-old. His name is Dallas Cowboys. You know, and like he said, he feels he was chosen one. You know what I mean? Just like I said, not knowing where we were at, just me loving my team. You know, everybody got names.
This nigga named
his
son
It's
Dallas
just a
Cowboys.
name, but his name has a big meaning to it. That's because that's America's team, and he understands what we're doing. You know,
he's so far in idolatry, man, that like he's pushing it off on his family. Like his son name is Dallas Cowboys.
He understands what his name means now. You know, we had a little issue where kids were making fun of him. Kind of had to break it down to him, hey, it's gonna happen. They make fun of daddy too, but one day you'll be like, they won't make fun of you. It's just I rep my team with a different passion. You know what I'm saying? Just like you might like big houses, big cars, like going out to eat, going out to clubs. Me.
So that's it on that, man. That's a perfect example of this. Turn ye not unto idols, nor make yourselves molten gods. I am the Lord your God. And I'm pretty sure that brother's a native or a Hispanic, right? But that's what our people do, man. They go to the heathen and make covenants with them. That is a covenant that he made with the Dallas Cowboy logo and team, and which is all owned by Edomites. Edomites is the one credited. Jake ain't behind the Dallas Cowboys. And he's persuading other people saying, come and let us make a covenant with the heathen. That's why he named his son Dallas Cowboy. I'm pretty sure his wife got a cowboy nickname. His nickname was Cowboy, right? Look. This is Deuteronomy 12 and 28. It says, observe all and hear all these words which I command thee, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee forever. When thou doest that which is good and right in the sight of thy God, the Lord thy God, when the Lord thy God shall cut off the nations from before thee, whether thou goest to possess them, and thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their land, right? This is what the Lord said he would give to us. But you know what we do? He's like, nah, we want to be like them. It says, take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them. And this is something our people have a problem with. Snared by following, even dealing with heathen, the men dealing with heathen women. They start following after them, man. And that's why we tell, just deal with your nation, because they don't, it seems like they don't know how to, and Solomon is a perfect example. Solomon the sin wasn't dealing with heathen women. The sin was he followed their gods. It tells you that in Sirach chapter 47. But the Lord gave us specific instructions right here. Take heed to thyself that thou be not snared. That means trapped by following them. After that, they be destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods. Right. And when you go back to this, that's what this is. Zeus, Demeter, Apollo. Apollo was I believe he was the god of boxing. That's why you have the Apollo's boxing ring, right? A lot of things is named after Apollo, man. I'm talking about still to this day. You have the Apollo Theater, right? And there is actually an Apollo Stadium where they go and box at. Why? Because he's the guy behind that, right? So it says, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. So this is something the Lord already set in stone. He says, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? This is what they did. Right? This is what they did. Let me pull up this. What was it? It was something I was looking at earlier dealing with these Greek gods. Hold on. Let's just do this. Let's see what pull up. It's saying India, but I ain't never seen that. Hold on. right? Because I know that's one thing for sure. It just brought it to my memory. This is one of the first sports that ever came into play in life, and that is chariot racing, right? And they still do this right here today. Equestrian, they still do this today, where they got that little ball. They had a horses running, wrestling, running. This is all Greek fashions. This is why Jason went to the heathen was like, let's make a covenant with them. But it says the ancient Olympic Games were a series of athletic competitors among representatives of city states, right? Greece was the first ones that did that too. They one of the first Greek states. It says, and one of the Panhellenic, right? Panhellenic, because you got to understand Greece before it was called Greece. If you look on an old map, before it was called Greece, it was called Helen, right? That's why you got Hellenistic. That means you being like the Hellenes, right? It says Pan-Hellenic games of ancient Greece, they were held in honor of Zeus and the Greek gods. And that's just what that is. You cannot get around this at all. And this is what our people would forsake the Most High and go do in First Maccabees chapter 1, the first chapter. I'm gonna start back where it says honor of Zeus, and the Greeks gave them a mythological origin, right? Olympian, right? Athens was one of the first, was one of the Olympia was the first, was the most important place that they held these Olympics at, right? When you see Olympic games right here, and they got all these Olympic games, Shalaki right here, these the games, this goes back to ancient Greece, man. And that's where all sports derive from, right? So if you're gonna hate it all the way, man. So let me read this one more time. So this is First Maccabees, the Greek Empire, 1 and 11. It says, in those days went there out Israel wicked men who persuaded many of the Israelites, the other Israelites, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. That means it's boring and sorrowful. It's nothing to do, right? And that's why you see our people, instead of having, self-owned things, they would rather go do what the heathen is doing. It says, so this device, right, pleased them well, right? Then certain of the people, the Israelites, were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. And that's just what it is, man, right? And that leads me to this. Second Maccabees chapter 6 and 1. So, hey, you still have something called Greek fraternities. Like, so these Greek fashions are still here. They haven't went nowhere. They just have been advanced and enhanced. That's it. They're still here. Right? So this is Second Maccabees 6 and 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens, right, to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. And if we look at that today, that's exactly why they have sports, and sports is put on a high pedestal, because they're introducing to their fashions, right? But you have to depart from the laws of your God. And it's self-explanatory. Look at all the sports, the athletes, the rappers, the actors, singers. Look at all these people when they try to come back to their laws, man. Look at Nick Cannon, right? Look at all these people that they, what they do to them when they try to come back to their God, right? So not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel, right, the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, right? And if you do not do that, you're not going to be famous. And not to live after the laws of God, right? Because you got to shave off your beard, right? You got to break all the commandments by these rituals that they doing, right? Which goes into idolatry, right? And they not showing you that because they want you to be too in too deep, then they introduce you these things. Right? Satan don't make you, they don't make you like do these rituals as soon as you get famous. They wait a while until you already in, you done already made millions of dollars. Then they offer it to you. They like, you don't want to lose this, right? But this is how they get them to sell out, man. Turn from the Most High and go sell out to Satan, because these people, the Greeks, they are the physical counterpart of Satan. It says, and not live after the laws of God, and to pollute also the temple in Jupiter, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius, right? So what's another word for Jupiter? Let's see. Look at this. The Greeks called him Zeus, but the Romans called him Jupiter. And we got to understand the Romans are the ones who, who had a hold of our scrolls last. That's why it was called Jupiter instead of Zeus, right? Straight up. And that's why you have this name right here, right? Because we got to understand Greco-Roman. That means Rome and the Greeks, they smashed they whole culture together. They smashed it all together. That's why it's called Greco-Roman Empire, right? That's why you have democracy. You have the Senate, because the Senate, they the ones who dealt with the Romans is the one who dealt with the Senate, and the Greeks dealt with democracy. But here in Babylon the Great, you have both, right? So look, the word Jesus, it goes back to Iusis, right? And they say it means Jehovah is God, is salvation, but it doesn't, right? When you go into this word right here, Iusis, is the IE, because Greeks, they was famous for making up words. Like they have Greeks, they have the longest word in the world. They have a word that's like 38,000 letters long. Like what is that for? The fuck you need that for? But this is the kind of things that they did. They just made up stuff. So this IE is made up. They made up to fit their agenda, right? And it's supposed to mean hell, right? And then you got Zeus, which goes back to Zeus. So it means hell Zeus. They're still making you hell Zeus. Straight up, man. That's what that is. You don't have to believe it. Go do your research. But Jupiter and Zeus is the same person. Right? Now let's see if we can pull this up. Every time you pray to Jesus, you praying to Zeus, man. Believe that or not. It's going to say Zeus somewhere. I'm just going to pull up something just to see what's up. All right, these are his other names, his other Greek names. Let me just see what this is. Man, if you do your research, you will see that the word Jesus goes back to hell Zeus, man. So they still have you serving their God. And the Most High told us not to do that, man. He told us to be studious. right? And he gives us clues in the scriptures like how we're gonna know his name in the last days if when his name is in the Bible, right? So why would he say that? I'm trying to find it. Because it goes back to Zeus. I have to do a lesson on that on a name or something. It's not pulling up what I need to pull up, and I don't want to waste too much time on this name. But look, it says Zeus is the sky and thunder god in ancient Greek religion, who rules as king of the gods of Mount Olympus. That's when you go to the Olympics. Olympus. This is the shit that we set up in the homeland. It says his name is cognate with the first element of his Roman equivalent, Jupiter. Straight up, man. Jupiter, Zeus, the same thing. So when we go back to Second Maccabees chapter 2, 6 and 1, 6 and 2, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem. They polluted it how? And to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympus. They call it the temple of Zeus. So Zeus ain't went nowhere in 2022, and his name is still here in the name Jesus. It says, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter, Zeus, the defender of strangers. He was the number one deity, the number one god in the Greek and Roman rule empire. And what are we in? The Greek and Roman Empire, right? What does the scripture say? The Lord told us that these people would still be ruling when he returned. The thing we got to do is just put 2 and 2 together. That's all we have to do. Right? Look, 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and 7. It says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or how do we know the difference? What's going to happen? The parting asunder of times. Or when shall the end of the first, right, and the beginning of it that followeth? Then it says, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. So it was symbolic, them coming out like that, right? Them wrestling and fighting in the womb. That was symbolic. It says for Esau, well, it happened, but it was symbolic. It says for Esau is the end of the world as we know it, right? And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And we know that our kingdom is next, right? So Esau is the end of this world. So when it says, Salakia, so I'm gonna read this again. It says, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers. So we understand that Zeus, that name, this is their deity, and them being still in rulership. These are the people, they're still worshiping their God, and they want you to worship him too. They're just putting makeup on it. Like an ugly girl. An ugly girl, what does she do to make herself look good? She put makeup on. And that's what they did with this name. That's why it is Jesus. But it's really Iusis. And I just showed you that. Look, it's right here. So where'd it go? Look, the name is Iusis. The name is Iusis. Look. And it's supposed to mean Jehovah is salvation when it doesn't mean that. Straight up, man. Iusis. That sus is Zeus. Let me see if I can do this. Let's try this one more time. Yeah, they don't want to show us that. They don't want to show us that. But this word goes back to Zeus, man. I'm gonna have to do a video on it just to prove it, man. I'm gonna have to. But let's go back to this. It says, so we understand that in the temple, they set in the temple in Jerusalem, they changed it to the temple of Zeus, Olympius, right? And let's see what it looked like. Right, because earlier I said I wanted to deal with that image. Right, so this is the word Olympius in 2nd Maccabees. It says epithet of Jupiter or Zeus, right? Which God held court, presided over by Zeus, Antiochus Epiphanes, who on God's altars danced, right? Insulted the Jewish religion by dedicating the temple of Jerusalem to Jupiter Olympus. And our people was down with it. They helped them. Straight up, man. They helped him. But this is what it looked like. They set this up with Zeus's image in it. In Jerusalem, in the Holy Land. And none of this stuff has nothing to do. And it's called Greek mythology for a reason, man. You're talking about the god of lightning? Like, it's all mythology, man. This shit is not real. If you go into Greek mythology and what they actually believed in is fake, man. All of it's fake. We have the true and living God. That's why the Most High said the gods of the nations are idols. Let me get that. Psalms. And we already went into what idol means. It means false gods. Right? He said, and right here. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. And this same Lord is Yahweh, which is he made the same one who made us a chosen people and near unto him, made us priests and kings of the whole earth. Not to go and follow the heathens' idols, man. And like I said, idol goes into false and fake gods, myth. False and myth is the same thing, right? So let's go back to 2nd Maccabees. So it says, as they did desire that dwelt in the place, the coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, right? Imagine that. But the Lord said he would allow that to happen because of the sins that we was committing. It says, who dollied with harlots. Hey, and it's pissing us off now. Look at these people in our homeland. And they having a good time in our homeland. They got Pink City out there. Or they got kosher pork out there. They out there defiling the hell out of your homeland. It says, the coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. You should still feel like that, man, knowing that your homeland is being occupied by some dirty ass heathens. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dollied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, right? Temple prostitutes. And beside that, brought in things that were not lawful. And it tells you the altar also was filled with profane things. And remember, we read that the Antiochus Epiphanes, he was dancing and mocking, dancing around the altar in the temple, right? Was filled with profane things which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, fast, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew, right? Look at these celebrities that's claiming that they're Jews, man. Look what's happening to them. These niggas is coming on national TV and apologizing for statements that they make, and you never hear about it again. There's silence in them. Why? Because neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. These are the same Greeks and Greco-Roman Empire. We just read that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Now that we're waking up, we understand who Esau is, because they're the ones who's ruling right before our kingdom comes. These are the people that told us it's not lawful to keep Sabbath days. Why do you think they set up and they make it where the most turnt days is on the Sabbath, right? And ancient fast, why do you think they provide you so much food? All these restaurants all around. Everything is so damn convenient. You think they doing that because they just want to make sure you okay? No, they're doing that so that you will not fast. You won't even think about fasting all these restaurants because you're going to be too busy trying to go to at least every restaurant once. It says, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. You don't want to be a Jew. You want to be a nigga. You want to be an African American because that's what's being glorified, being a nigga. Even the heathens want to be a nigga. They, they sagging. They got their cap back. They got jewelry on. They got the grill. They saying nigga. That's what's being glorified, man. Straight up. Let's keep going. It says, and in the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. Right? They was forcing us to eat these sacrifices. And think about it. When we came over here on these boats in the 1500s, all the way to the 1800s and 1900s, they was forcing pork down our mouth. They would break our front two teeth in and would literally pour this pork down our mouth. Right? Why was they using pork over here? Because pork had the longest shelf life. It says, and when the fast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews that they should observe the same fashions. Right? You better do what we doing. And that's how the heathen is. That's how the heathen is now today. You better believe in the same Jesus Christ we believe in. Right? Because what did they tell us in the scriptures? And our people was with it, man. It's like I said, Romans. And our people was with it. That's why they went around saying, don't teach in that name. That's all we doing is teaching his real name and what he really looked like. But that's a problem. Right? Conspiracy to kill Yahweh Shah. It says, and that's why we don't say Jesus. We only say Jesus for edification so, they can understand who we're talking about. It says, then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, what do we? For this man doth many miracles. Right? It says, if we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. And we're not talking about just, let me just get it in Salakia. We're not talking about just any belief, man. Let me pull up another blue letter of Salakia. We're not talking about just any belief. right? Because everybody got their own perception of who the world calls Jesus Christ is, which is Yahushua Mashiach. But this is what he said. This is red letters. John 7:38. He that believeth on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. Right? So what he looked like, and we all know that, the scriptures have errors in it according to them changing in the translations. We're not talking about it has errors in it as in we don't need it. It is, the Bible is going on. We're talking about they changed the names, they changed certain things during translations. But it says, he that believeth on me, as the scripture hath said, right? The ancient paleo scrolls. And that's where we get Yahweh and Yahweh Shah from. But you got to believe on him, as the scripture have said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. And that living water goes into wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So he says right here, if we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. They're going to believe the exact truth of him, right? And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. Now, the Romans already conquered the Greeks. So this is the time of Greco-Roman Empire. Straight up, man. And that's why they have because they, when we go into the scriptures and we see there was a democracy going on. That's why the Romans, the Jews took the Yahushua to the Romans, and they had what we would call, democracy. They was questioning, and he was asking, what should we do with this man? That's what Pontius Pilate was. He said, I see no fault with this man. That's called democracy, giving the people an illusion of choice. What do you want us to do with him? And they said, let's kill him. And he was like, I'll give you him. Do you want me to release him, or you want me to release him? That's democracy, man. That's what they was dealing with. So the Romans already conquered the Greeks. They already absorbed their fashions. But it says, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation if they believed on Yahushua HaMashiach, man. Straight up. So going back, Second Maccabees 6:8, it says, moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions, Salakia, and be partakers of their sacrifices. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery, right? So they was giving them that work, man. If they caught you keeping the high holy days, keeping the Sabbath days. And there's a count in history, like the book of Babylon and Timbuktu. They tortured a woman for 2 years because she had on clean clothes on the Sabbath, and she said pork made her sick, and she wasn't eating pork. It says, for there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children. And this is a history book too. Whom when they had openly led around about the city, the babes handing Salakia at their breasts. So these were infant babies, still sucking on a titty. They cast them down headlong from the wall. Right? So they had them by the foot with their head dangling downwards, and they just let them go. Straight up, man. That's what they did if they, we was caught circumcising our children. Right? And we have a lot of brothers coming up to us asking us, about circumcision. Like, do I have to still get circumcised? Well, it's a part of the law for you to be circumcised. And that's something we can't change. Right? So look, let's go to 2 Maccabees. Another thing the Greeks believed in, they believed in immaculate conception. Immaculate conception, Salakia. So we see where that comes from, Immaculate Conception, right? That's that Greek mythology, man. They believe that Mary had a baby without having sex. She had sex. The Holy Spirit had sex with her. It don't make sense. That's what the Greeks believed in, though. All right, so this is 2 Maccabees chapter 4 and 7. It says, but after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes, took the kingdom, Jason, the brother of Onias, labored on the hand to be high priest, right? Because Jason was high priest at first. Now, Jason, this is Jason right here. In those days went out Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, this was Jason, right? When you go into First Maccabees and Second Maccabees, it's supposed to be together. But Second Maccabees is giving more details of what First Maccabees is saying. That's all it is. It's like the book of Revelation, right? So it says, verse 8, promising unto the king by intercession 360 talents of silver, and of another revenue 80 talents, right? Right. So basically they was tributaries. Beside this, he promised to assign 150 more, right? He made an agreement to give him even more, man. Because remember, our place, our homeland was full of gold and everything. We had infinite amount of that. It tells you that in the scriptures. So, giving this away was nothing to us. Right? Isaiah 2:6, 2:7. It says their land, it's talking about the Israelites' land. Their land also is full of silver and gold, neither is there any end of their treasures. Right? So we had all the treasures. Their land is also full of horses, neither is there any end of their chariots. Straight up. But this was the problem too. Their land also is full of idols. Right? Straight up, man. And we was in idolatry even coming out of the wilderness all the way up until this point today. They worship the work of their own hands, right? Like basketball players, they worship their own hands, right? Them dunking the ball with their hands, right? Crossover with their hands, football with their hands, a stiff arm, right? These are the work of their own hands and their feet. Same thing. That which their own fingers have made, right? Put them in a position that they are in today. That's how they look at it. But it says, Salakia, it says he assigned 150 more if he might have license to set up a place for exercise. This is saying the same thing. That's how we know this is Jason. This was Jason right here, because it's saying the same thing. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. That's saying the same thing as this. Where is it at? Salakia. It says if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise, and for the training up of the youth in the fashions of the heathens. Greek mythology education systems. They were setting this up in the homeland. And this is what vexed and made the people grievous, right? Because they were so forward herein, like the scriptures say. And for the training up of the youth, right? They was targeting the kids. The children were a prey. And look at it now. When you send your kids to school, they learn about Alexander the Great, right? That is one of the main people in that book, is Alexander the Great. And that's something I remember from being in elementary. And I'm 30 years old. And that's something I remember from elementary. Right? So this is what they're still teaching in the schools. Right? And for the training up of the youth in the fashions of the heathen, right? They're telling you that they told us that Alexander the Great was a great king, the greatest king. But they ain't telling you about Yahushua. They ain't telling you about Solomon or King David. No, they're telling you about Alexander the Great. It says, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochians, right? That's why we call ourselves today Americans. They following these same strategies. The same strategies, man. And that's what our people do. I'm African American. I'm an American. Straight up. They don't say they Israelites. Back then they called themselves Antiochians, right? It says, which when the king had granted and he had gotten into his hand the rule, he forthwith brought his own nation to Greekish fashions. Greekish fashions, man. Greek mythology, right? Learning the way of the heathen, envying his oppressor, right? And that's why you have the same thing our people doing today, dealing with sports. Look, this man right here. Perfect example. He's raising his youth up in the ways of the heathen, man. All of them are. They all have. I'm pretty sure they all have children, and they all bringing their kids up in the ways of the heathen, man. This nigga nickname is Cowboy. Straight up, man. And this is what the heathen like to see. They don't want to see you calling yourself an Israelite. They get very angry and scared when you do that. Right? So it says, I'm gonna read this again. Which when the king had granted and he had gotten into his hand the rule, he forthwith brought his own nation to the Greekish fashion. It says, and the royal privileges granted of special favor to the Jews by the means of John, the father of Eupelos, right? And they called him the father because they didn't like to be called the king. The Romans didn't, right? It says, who went ambassador to Rome for the amity and aid. He took away in putting down the governments which were according to the law. He brought up new customs against the law. Right? He took away these laws and set up new ones. And that's how we know these are the same people, because what do they do today? The Most High said homosexuality is a sin and it's an abomination. Well, what does Esau say? He like, nah, we're good. So he replaced the Most High's law and he set up his own, like the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin that's our customs. That's something we did. That's something the Lord commanded us to set up. But here it is, they set it up and they changed the laws. Right? They go off their own laws. They don't go off the laws of how the Sanhedrin was supposed to be set up. Right? It says, for he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself and brought the chief men under his subjection. Right? The chief men, the most important men that everybody would listen to, and made them wear a hat. What kind of hat was this? Hey, it could have been a olive tree hat, because the Greeks was famous for that, right? That was what they used as crowns. Those olive leaves, rings around their head. It says, now such was the height of Greek fashions and increase of heathenist manners, right, among the Israelites, through the exceedingly profaneness of Jason. So Jason is the main important. He is just as important on the left-hand side as Judas, who turned over Yahushua. It says that ungodly wretch and no high priest. This is what the scriptures call him, an ungodly wretch. Why? Because he brought his people to Greekish fashions. Right? He did that. He's an ungodly wretch, man. And you're the same if you saying that, this is of the Most High, and you can serve the Most High through this, because you can't, man. The Lord set you up to be a priest and a king, to show forth the praises of the Most High God, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to teach the heathen, right? Now, ultimately, we're going to do it in the kingdom. Why we have to wait to the kingdom? Because our people need to be restored. But after that, we won't need the laws will be on our inward part, so we would have to teach the heathen. It says that the priest had no courage to serve anymore at the altar. Right? What goes on at the altar? Sacrifices. So they didn't give a damn about sacrifices no more. Right? Why? Because they got a license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. But despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifices, hasted to be partakers of unlawful allowance in the place of exercise, after the game of discus called them forth. So there we have it, man. Sports after the game of discus. Let's see what discus is, because they still do discus today. This is all our people wanted to do. This is discus. It's like a frisbee. It says the discus throw, also known as disc throw, and that's like I said, you have frisbee today, right? And they even have another one like here in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma, at these parks where they'll throw it and like it'll go like like I wouldn't say half a mile, but like it'll go a long way. They'd be so far away from it, and the thing is supposed to go into this like chain net thing, and that's what their whole objective is, to throw it. And it's a frisbee. It's like a little thin. It's a real thin frisbee, and they would throw it, and it's supposed to land into this chain mail thing, right? Right? But it says the discus throw, also known as disc throw, is a track and field event in which an athlete throws a heavy disc called a discus in an attempt to mark a farther distance than their competitors, right? And we ain't even got to keep reading. But look, explore more. Hammer throw, right? Where you spin in a circle real fast and you just let it go. Long jump, pole vault, all these come from Greeks. So these places of exercise in the scriptures, now we know what it's talking about. So I'm going to read the last part again. It says, hasten to be partakers. They was quick to do this. Of unlawful allowance in the place of exercise. They was doing this shit in the homeland. After the game of discus called them forth. This is what it was all about, man. This is why our people want to go be like the heathen, because they got fun games. It says not setting by the honors of their fathers. They didn't want to be priests. They didn't want to be kings of the earth. You don't see kings doing that. But liking, like you have King James. If you were a king, you wouldn't be out there with them, with peasants. It says not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. Right? And that still applies today. And I'm showing you how these games. So where was I at? I'm showing you how these games are still here today, and our people still play them. Look, people still play these games. Look, that's Jake, 100 meters race walking, right? And the Romans, they did this too. They had the naked mile in Rome. That's where that comes from, Rome. Track and field athletics. So this goes into a variety of different things, right? Steeplechase, decathlon, pretty sure that's running, hurdling, all of these things, long jump. Our people is the most famous at this. This is what they would rather do. Salakia. This is what our people rather do than serve the Most High God, man. And if this alters that, they have no intent on serving the Most High God. Look what's in her: football, basketball, soccer, tennis, golf. And our people is indulged in this. Our people is indulged in this. Let me see. I'm trying to think of what. Look, this is what I was thinking about. Look what they'd rather do, man. This is what our people, these is Greeks, man. This is when you think of Jason in the scriptures, you look at these niggas, man, because they will not give this up for the Most High. Look at this. They're carrying around that American flag. Even our women, man. They're doing what they're due. This is their customs. This is not ours. Look, our people proudly doing this. They're proudly. But this ain't our customs, man. Look, they got their right hand. Look, they pledging allegiance to the flag. This is perfect right here. They're pledging allegiance to the flag, man. They're pledging allegiance to the Greekish fashion, the Greco-Roman fashions, right? Like boxing. The Greeks, they used to go bare knuckle, right? Like when you watch the movie 300, right? In Sparta, because Sparta is in Greece. They beat the hell out of each other bare knuckle, but the Romans is the one who added padding to it, to their knuckles, to where it wouldn't leave so many marks and do so much damage, right? And that's where you got, it's called boxing gloves, right? That's why we have Greco-Roman, because they smashed all of these ideas together, right? But it says, not sitting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. It says, uh, by reason whereof sore calamity came upon them, for they had them to be their enemies and avengers, whose customs they followed so earnestly, and unto whom they desired to be like in all things. So not just some things, all things. Right? Whatever the Greeks and the Romans was doing, they wanted to be like them. That's why you had the Israelites. We have no king but Caesar. Right? They wanted to be like the Romans, man. That's why the Israelites set up a Senate, right? And what does the Senate goes back to? The Senate goes back to the Romans, man. The Romans is the one who had a Senate. We had a Sanhedrin. Let me pull that up right quick. Slovakia. Or might be second. No, it's first Maccabees 8. Okay. I'm just reading from my phone. Right? Like I said, the Israelites is the one who's, I mean, the Romans is the one who had a Senate. They the first one known as for having a Senate. And that's how we know these are the same people, because they have a Senate now, right? The Senate. If we go, we can just Google this. U.S. Senate. All right. So when we go to First Maccabees chapter 8, I'm gonna start at 1. First Maccabees 8:1, it says, now Judas had heard of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all that joined themselves unto them. And that's why you have this big ass melting pot, America, because the Romans, they accept anybody that would be joined unto them. Straight up, man. It says, and make a league of amity with all that came unto them. All right, so let me get down to the point. So verse 15, it says, and this is the first place where you see the word Senate. It says, moreover, how they had made for themselves a Senate house. Look at this. This is a Senate house. This is what they did. This is a Senate house. United States Senate. Straight up, man. This is real history. These scriptures are life. For real, man. The U.S. Senate House, United States Senate. Straight up. So I'm going to read it. It says, moreover, they had made for themselves a Senate House wherein 320 men sat in council daily. Huh. Let's see. Let's get some images. Look at this. And they have bigger ones than this. This is not just it. This is called the Senate, man. Look at this. This is perfect right here. And this is the old Senate chamber. So the scriptures is life, man. So we understand that these are the same people, the Romans. So it says, moreover, how they had made for themselves a Senate house wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting a way for the people, to the end they might be well ordered. And this is where democracy come in. They make you think that you have a choice, but it's an illusion of choice. That's all it's about. Let's make the people think that they have a choice. Let's let the people think that they have a choice, but they really don't. Now, let's get how the children of Israel did the same thing, because this is all we did, is wanted to be like the heathen. All right, so this is Acts chapter 5, and we're going to start at 21. It says, and when they had heard, they entered into the temple early in the morning and taught. Now, this is after the Greek Empire. This is the Roman Empire now, right? But we were still in the homeland. It says, and taught, but the high priest came, and they that were with him, and called the council together, and all the senate of the children of Israel, and sent to the prison to have them brought. So even the children of Israel set up a senate. Straight up, man. Because we always wanted to be like the heathen. Always, man. Never gets old, man. I mean, it gets old, but it never stops, man. It never stops, man. But these are different Greek gods, man. And these Greek gods, they have you serving them. One way or another, if you're not keeping the commandments and you out here in the world, you're serving these gods. Straight up. They're just hid behind certain things, man. And they give you the background on what these gods, false gods, represent. Right? But nonetheless, they want you serving their gods, man. And the Greeks are famous for half-naked shit. Like, all this half-naked. It's like, bro, what is wrong with y'all? Like, it might be a little explicit, but the Greeks are known for porn. That's where you get porn from. Because they used to literally have people, what we would call entertainers. They'd get down in front of the king so the king could watch. Right? One thing we did, the Jews, we would literally, we would send a couple in a chamber, and they would come out with the token of her virginity. But the Greeks and the Romans, they went in and watched. Straight up, man. Because they were some sick ass people. All right, so I got one more precept. Let me get this last one. You know what? These sports, you know what they do? It causes confusion. It causes all kind of, chaos, amongst each other. It creates division. It creates a whole bunch of stuff. It's deeper than just sports, man. It goes into, you hating your people. Because this creates hatred, because everybody wants to be number one. And if you're not number one, it creates envy, jealousy, and hatred, right? Which the scriptures are not against. Which the scriptures are against, Salakia. So it says, Galatians 5:19, now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, lasciviousness, right? Idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance. Now, I want to deal with these two words, variance, and I want to deal with another word. So let's see what the word variance means. Variance is you trying to be different from your brother, man. Right? Because what does the scripture say? First Corinthians 1:10. It says that we should all be on one accord. We should all be the same, right? But sports, it creates variance. That's why you got these niggas on these teams. Like you have rival teams, right? And these niggas literally take these games and these matches, they take it outside of the court and the field, and they really be hating each other, man. Rap battles, they take it outside, they take it personal, they take it outside of the rap battle, and next thing you know, they setting people up to get jumped and shot and all this, man. Like Tupac and Biggie, it was supposed to be about rap, but it grew into something very, very personal, right? And that's just one example. But it says variance, the fact or quality of being different. When we're not different, we're all the same people, and we should be all on the same accord, but we're not. Why? Because of these things that has been set up in our face, right? Imbalance, contradiction, distinction, deviation, difference, variance, right? So it says these are the works of the flesh, though. So where we at? These are the works of the flesh. So idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, and variance, being different. Now, the word I really wanted to get was emulation. Now, emulation is trying to be better than your brother, right? And this is why everybody strives to be in first place. Everybody strives to be the best actor, the best rapper, the best athlete. They strive for that. And if not, and if they can't be that, they're going to hate the next person, the person that is better than them. This is all this creates, man. Emulation. So, yeah. Right. So it says emulation, effort to match or surpass a person or achievement, right? Like King James, LeBron James, he's trying to pass or he's trying to achieve Michael Jordan's. He's trying to pass him, his record. That's what it's all about. And now those two, they hate each other. They don't like each other. They even got video clips and they don't want to shake each other's hand. They don't want to do none of that because it goes back to emulation. You're trying to be better than your brother, right? So I'm going to read again. Effort to match or surpass a person or achievement, typically by imitations, right? Imitation, doing the same thing they're doing, right? That's why he want to be called King James, right? Because he want to be better than Michael Jordan. It says their success is inspiring emulation from others, right? Michael Jordan's success makes LeBron James want to emulate it and be greater in achievements. He want to be better, man. Straight up, man. And that's something the scriptures is against. We're not supposed to be doing that, man. So I'm going to continue this out. It says wrath, strife, sedition, heresies, envying, murders, drunkenness, reveling, and such like. Hey, and what did it say right here? It said that the temple was full of reveling. And this goes into partying. You partying 24/7. And what is America full of? If you want to have the best parties on earth, no rules and regulations, come to America. It says, and such like of which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Straight up, man. And that's what we're looking at, right? Our people love the heathen and their gods, right? And this is something we have to depart from in these last days, man. It's not going to kill you not doing these things, right? Right. And there's limitations, man. There's limited, but you can't go around and sit here and talking about dreads or heathen customs, but then here it is, you at the damn, you at the football stadium, or you at the damn UFC octagon ring. You can't be doing that, man. If you're gonna do away with it all, man. right? But that's all I got, man. Lord willing, you was edified. Shalom.